Okay, I've got the International Cold Open Handbook right here. I'm going to rifle. Let's see if I can rifle through to, okay, section 3, subheading B.
Yes.
Legitimate, allowable frequency of cold open episodes.
I didn't realize that this was an IEEE standard. I'm kind of surprised by this. Are you sure this is an ISO or IEEE? What are we looking at here?
You know what? Let's just throw this handbook in the trash. Make our own rules.
All right.
I think it's been about 6 months. I think.
It's been.
No.
It's been.
You did that last week. You've got to stop doing this.
Did I do it last week, really?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Got to change up your material.
Oh, crap.
In my mind, it was early December, mid-December was the last one of these.
I think it was December 19th, 2021, if I recall. I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm looking at the show notes right now. We talked about making eggnog. This was before I went to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
This was the last one before I went to the hospital the next day after this one aired, I think.
I remember it like it was yesterday, and so does your gallbladder.
Yeah. Well, no, not anymore. My gallbladder is in a lab someplace.
Oh, is that? I was about to ask, what do you think happens to unwanted organs that are...
I asked if I could have it, and they were like, no, we're going to look at it. And I was like, okay. It's like research hospital. I was like, okay.
Hang on. Do you think they're done with it by now? Or is this like the gallbladder that's going to hang out in the jar for the next 100 years?
I don't know. What are you saying? I'm like a Henrietta Lacks? Like they're using my gallbladder for science from here on out for the next 100 years?
I would believe that about you.
I mean, I am full of bile. I guess less so now.
Well, time for a cold open episode. No, I guess I kind of like the idea of a winter cold open and a summer cold open episode. I think for whatever reason, we've decided that about every 6 months is the most often we can get away with.
I think for the level of indulgence an all cold open episode is, I feel like every 6 months is the most frequently we can do it without feeling bad about ourselves.
Yeah. You gotta hang on to it and deploy it at the right moment.
I had to plug in the air conditioner yesterday, which I think is the official start of summer in the Bay Area. Okay. And it was been beastly hot here by Bay Area standards. So like 72, 73.
I had to turn off the air conditioning so we could record this podcast.
Yeah, me too. I'm just stewing in it over here.
Which, oh gosh, okay. Well, on that note, this is the hottest cold open episode ever, apparently. We better get on with it.
Brad, I experienced a small, tiny taste of living in a computerized hellscape this week.
Wait, aren't we all experiencing that every day now?
I mean, look, there's the very online. Sometimes I'm envious of the not very online, extremely online, I think is.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
I'm still on this trip out here where I'm interacting with people constantly who like barely, I started to say barely know what the internet is. That's not true because everybody knows what the internet is these days. But in the course of their daily occupation,
yeah,
they don't interact with the internet like at all.
Man, that sounds kind of nice sometimes.
God, it seems like bliss.
It's got to be like living in a world like there's layers of the world that you're aware of, right? And we're aware of the good one where real life happens, and then the bad one where internet bullshit happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is optional, but I don't know how to stop now.
Where are we going with this?
Okay, so I got shadow banned from a major payment processor.
Wow. Okay.
For something that I didn't do, for a crime I didn't commit.
Yeah, you're backing into the subject from a different direction than I thought you were going to, but go on.
Okay, so I had to do some business transactions with one of our business accounts, and the payment process, they used a payment processor called Stripe, which you all have used a lot for a lot. Like it's very popular for like small businesses who just want to get the ability to take credit cards without a lot of hassle.
Right. And it's generally, this is not something that the user is going to interact with directly, right? Or like you're not going to know you're using Stripe, right? You're just going to pay your vendor and they use Stripe on the back end.
So usually the payment page says powered by Stripe or something like that on it somewhere.
Right.
But that's the extent of your knowledge. Yeah.
It's not like you have a Stripe account that you log into all the time.
You don't have a Stripe account, which turns out is the problem.
Huh. Okay.
So, they associate your credit card with an email address, with the email address that's associated with the account that you used. And every time you try to use that email address to buy something, it says, hey, do you want me to send a note? And we'll blah, blah, blah. And you get an email. Now, my email is a famous person's first name and last name. Once again, hoses me.
On, should I say it, a popular email provider?
for who knew when I signed up for Gmail in 2003 that it was going to become the default email service for the entire goddamn world. So dipshits and fraudulent people put in my email address when they're trying to scam free shit from companies.
Wow.
So they don't have my credit card information. They don't have access to my credit card information because they don't, like, there's no password, there's no account. But when they put that email, it's like, hey, do you want to hit the button to do the fast charge? Just we'll send you a code. And then you type that 6-digit code in and you don't have to type your credit card in. It's very convenient for normal people. Now, a few months ago, Stripe quietly to vendors launched this thing called Stripe Radar, which is a machine learning and behavior enhanced filter for fraudulent behavior. And guess what happened? All of the dipshits who have been putting my email address in on their fraudulent transactions basically got me blacklisted from using Stripe. But there's no error message for it. It doesn't say, hey, you have a Stripe Radar problem. It just says, yo, your card's declined. But then when you call your card vendor, they're like, we didn't see any charges from Stripe or from the vendor in question at all. And guess what Stripe's customer support line is for customers, people who are trying to make charges through their platform?
What is their customer support line?
Fuck off. They have none.
Oh.
Like there's literally a thing on the site that says, yo, we don't do customer support for customers. You got to contact your vendor directly.
You know, that is 7 characters. 1-800 fuck off. Probably exists. We can't use that as an episode title.
No. So I called the vendors and they were like, well, you're clearly a dirtbag who has all your credit cards are being declined. I was like, they're all from different banks. The only thing in common is that the account, like when you sign up for your account on their site, it passes the email address through to Stripe. And of course, the vendors in charge in question, I couldn't change the email address on for reasons we don't need to get into. Anyway, I did what you have to do when you have 250,000 Twitter followers and shit's not working right. And there's no hope of any. I complained on Twitter.
You debased yourself.
Well, I know some people who work there, so I just added that. I didn't like do the yo Stripe, you're fucking me thing. I just added the people who used to work there. I was like, hey, do you know anybody you can point me to? About 3 hours later, I got an email from an @stripe.com address. Was like, hey, we looked at your problem and you were absolutely right. You did get like you are on the bad list. I was like, is there any way to get off of that? Was like, we can take care of it for you. I was like, but like, if I was a normal person, is there any way to get off of this? And they no, you'd have to talk to our PR department for that. I was like, do you have a PR department? And they're like, we'll refer you over, and haven't heard anything back. So,
all right,
if this ever happens, okay. So to TLDR, don't use your first name, last name for Stripe. Probably. Good address for email addresses that go to Stripe. Maybe don't use your first name, last name for any email address ever. Who knew?
That's you know, here I am talking about my OPSEC or my InfoSec, which is probably the worst thing you could do. But I switched to an email address that it's not exactly gibberish, but it's kind of close. It is pronounceable. But
yeah.
So this is for like, you know, accounts for stuff like you're talking about. But then like when that pops up on like an iMessage or something now to somebody, if it doesn't fill in their contacts, so they see my name instead of the email address, like they completely flip out. Like they think they were being scammed. I've had family members who thought they were getting some kind of scam message because it came from this like ghastly looking email address that they couldn't read.
So I do the same thing. I literally opened up 1Password and had it generate a multi-word phrase and use that as a new email address. That's like the ultimate lockdown Gmail thing. You can set iMessage to not use your email address as
use the phone number.
Use the phone number, or you can set it to use any other email address associated with your account.
Oh, I thought it had to be the email on your Apple account. I typically do have it set to use my phone number, but it seems like that setting doesn't always survive various processes.
It gets jacked up it used to get jacked up on the iPad for me all the time.
Yes. That's specifically the issue that I have had.
But yeah, that's a fixable problem. And you can add new addresses if you want to have one of your other addresses attached to it. Because for obvious reasons, I can't use my Gmail as my email address for iMessage either, because people.
Yes. Okay. Question. How many of those scammers, when they put in that email address trying to scam, do you think had bearded, bespectacled Will Smith in mind and not the other Will Smith?
0.1%.
Okay. That's probably, yeah. Also, I was just talking to our accountants and they happened to notice that, hey, let's say the administrative entity that we are talking about here, not an accountant, but one of the other umpteen things you have to deal with so the government allows you to have a company.
Yeah.
Right. The accountants were like, hey, I just checked your so-and-so and they haven't filed the so-and-so yet. And I need to get back to them and relay this entire story to them and be like, yeah, we're changing that.
We're working on it, man.
It's, you know, when somebody who's supposed to help you do business accuses you of being some kind of like deadbeat fraudster, might be time to go elsewhere.
I went elsewhere. We went elsewhere. We don't work with those people anymore. Anyway, yeah, good talk.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to say I have vanquished the notch.
You've learned to accept it and love it and become one with it?
No, I defeated it. I faced it in battle.
Electrical tape over the top 20 pixels of your screen?
No, look, we've talked about it. I'm using top notch. I can't see it, so it might as well not be there. Now I have a new nemesis.
My second half 2022 New Year's resolution is to never speak of the notch again.
No, this was just a lead-in to introduce you to my new nemesis.
Oh no, you have another problem?
On this laptop, which is, how the fuck do you clean the keyboard on this MacBook?
Welcome to the Brad's Neuroses Hour. Why, can't you just put like run a duster over it or something?
Well, so they have finally made it so that you can never turn these laptops off.
Wait, what?
How long has it been since you owned a MacBook?
2015.
Okay, so were they having the laptop boot as soon as you opened the lid?
No, it's not a power button.
Okay, so yes, as of, I was issued a 2020, I think, model MacBook Pro from work, an x86 one still, and it did that. There was a way to set some like P lists, or I forget what level of security you were messing with, but you could disable the behavior. On these M1 MacBooks, you cannot. Like they will never not boot as soon as you open the lid.
Can you not just turn the keyboard on and off?
How do I do that?
Huh. There's a tool called Keyboard Clean Tool that you can install.
Trust me, I looked into like, hey, how do you disable the keyboard? Sometimes you just want to wipe the keyboard down and not have it input a bunch of crap.
And you can't do that?
No. Well, I mean, I could do it on the lock screen, but I don't know. Something makes me feel like if I accidentally enter too much random text too many times into that login field, something bad might happen.
Well, but having a young child, I got myself locked out of my phone for like 5 hours one day when she was typing the passcode in wrong over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It escalates so that in order to get to the point that it nukes the device, it's like a 10-day cooldown or something like that.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like each one takes long. You have a bigger timeout from one to the next until you like it. You know, it's the put 1 grain on the first square of the chessboard and put 2 grains on the second. Yeah, it's an exponential increase. Okay,
so it takes a while for it to be permanent, or maybe it's never permanent.
No, you can set it to be permanent eventually, but it escalates more and more.
Okay.
So eventually you won't be able to put a new passcode in for a couple hours, which should be more than enough time to clean your keyboard.
Yeah, that's fair. Now that you mentioned it. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll just clean it up. Look, sometimes the keyboard gets grody. Occasionally you want to just get a little 70% isopropyl.
Gina got this awesome
do some work.
Gina got this awesome blue, it's like a blue fluffy duster that I use for keyboards and like things that have a lot of crevices, and has a million little tendrils that go everywhere. It's really rad.
Now that you mentioned it, I've got a Windows phone. In fact, the Windows phone you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And an old Android phone that are both on like their last attempt to input the passcode before they are locked out forever.
Oh.
Both sitting in a drawer. Do you have any ideas?
I bet the Windows phone is crackable at this point.
Oh, you think so?
Maybe. There's probably an exploit for the Android phone too, because it's ancient.
It is like 3-4 years old. Android probably.
It's the one before you got the iPhone 6, right?
Or 8. Maybe between the 6 and the 8. I think it's probably about a 4 or 5 year old Android phone. It's LG something.
That might be harder to get into, but the Windows phone, I bet, is exploit city if anybody cares enough to exploit those.
That might be a big if.
You could be playing Hexic right now. So I got a text the other day and I was like, oh, this is an obvious phishing attempt. Your data plan, you're running out of data on your data plan. You only have 10% left and you have 15 days to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got another one that was like, hey, your data plan is almost out. And then it was this really suspicious looking link that I was supposed to click that was supposed to add more data or change my plan or something from Verizon, from my phone provider. And I was like, I'm not going to click that. That's an obvious phishing attempt. Look, it's gibberish. This is no way. This is the actual message. And then I got the message. It was like, hey, we're charging you $15 a gigabyte for data now because you're using data. And so I was like, okay, let me talk to Gina and see if she's done something. And when we went camping, she turned Wi-Fi off.
Oh no.
And the second day it turned Wi-Fi back on, and that was undesired behavior. So she set it to turn off forever, and then didn't realize that it had been off for a week.
Ouch.
25 gigabytes of data.
Ouch. There's a lot of streaming video. What are we talking here? Maybe I should not ask about your wife's data usage habits on a public podcast.
Are you familiar with the TikToks?
Uh-huh.
TikTok is very popular in our house right now.
I see.
I believe that it was a lot of TikTok, but I did not ask. I find it's best not to ask those sorts of questions.
Well, that was money well spent. Do you know how much you got charged? Did you only eat into the first gigabyte before you?
We have eaten into the first gigabyte. We have 7 days to go at this point. So we are approaching, as long as we don't leave the house much, I think we'll be fine.
I'm surprised you guys aren't on so when I just changed phones like a month ago, and in the course of that, also that was an interesting process. Maybe we won't get into it. The iPhone SE3 that I got has an eSIM in it. Mm-hmm. Do you have a phone with an eSIM?
Yeah, I've had a phone with an eSIM for a while.
Like the idea of having to go through their webpage to transfer service to the new phone instead of just popping a little card out was kind of interesting and weird. Anyway, they every single step of the way, they tried to upsell me to some kind of unlimited data plan that, of course, was like $30 more than what I'm paying. But I'm surprised you guys aren't on. I mean, I'm sure you're all sharing, right?
Well, so we have a shared 16 gig plan with rollover or they call it carryover.
Yes.
And we had 20 some gigs of carryover data until very recently.
Boy, that is a lot of data.
No, it was a shared 8 gig plan with like 25 gigs of carryover. And now we don't have that anymore for reasons that we've recently covered. And my daughter doesn't use data. Like she has a watch, but that's it. And it doesn't use very much data at all. So,
wait, hang on.
Yeah.
Are you saying that the TikTok usage was entirely your wife's?
100%.
Oh, wow. Okay. I assumed it was like some mother-daughter bonding over. Yes.
There's a lot of TikTok. Like, I don't know if you probably haven't spent very much time on, I like TikTok a lot. I think TikTok is a cool thing. I think TikTok gives you more of whatever you watch. So
okay, sure.
For example, when I first got TikTok, I didn't realize it would keep running if I didn't close the app. And I just set my phone down on the desk facing down with like this Alabama Muddin video running indefinitely. So for a long time, TikTok thought that I really, really, really was into like people taking 4x4s and getting them buried in mud and then having to pull them out with excavators and stuff.
I mean, I would believe you're into that.
I mean, look, there's a certain appeal to watching dumbasses get stuck in the mud and then have to have smart people come pull them out. Yes, I will not deny that. But there's some secondary knock-on effects to that in that they thought I also liked other things that other people that watch those videos like misogynist jokes and, borderline abusive relationship advice. So yeah, like
just down home stuff,
Yeah, I had to I do appreciate it. I did get a real good crawdad boil guy out of that.
Okay.
And those are like, it's fun to watch. Like he like dumps in 5-gallon drywall mud buckets full of like corn and potatoes and crawdads, and then puts them into this big thing. And then he tips it over and dumps it out onto a tarp, and it looks pretty good. I would eat that. But
I think maybe you should just take your phones, all of your phones and the watch, just lock them in the fire safe for the next 7 days. You really can't be too careful.
Man, that's an interesting idea. We could just go dark.
I've written here in the notes, contentious grilling scenario, because that's exactly what occurred last night.
We had that at the camping trip a couple weeks ago. Yeah, because it's like cool. 6 families all making dinner, and there's only a limited number of grills, but there's an infinite supply of men.
Oh, in your case, was it just like competition over grill space? Like just jockeying for a position?
There was, let's just say people were chill about it, but like everyone wanted to cook the protein.
Mm-hmm.
I, lover of elote and grilled corn, was like, I will grill 40 ears of corn. Here we go. Let's dance.
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, it was okay.
In my case, we were grilling some skewers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were chicken. Let's just say that there is maybe a difference in philosophy between those who believe in the internal meat thermometer and those who just like to grill by feel.
Well, were you trying to stick all the kebabs?
No, just like the thickest piece. I mean,
yeah, but you can tell, like you use the meat of your thumb thing, right?
I remember now that I see you doing that with the beat of the thumb thing. Yes, it's been. Look, we've talked about this, right? I had to surrender my grill like 4 years ago.
Why'd you have to surrender your grill?
When my landlord started actually enforcing the city ordinance that I can't have a grill out there.
On the deck?
Have we never talked about this? No, dude, my grill has been in the garage of our building since like 2018 or something.
But would you just roll it out on the sidewalk?
No, it's a wood. We have a little tiny little wooden deck off the back of our place.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And San Francisco says no open flame on wooden construction.
That seems like generally good. But you could roll the grill out on the sidewalk and have a little bit of a sidewalk grilling.
Wait, out front of the building?
Yeah, I used to do that. It was fun. You'd make friends with the neighbors and stuff.
I guess I maybe. I don't know.
Hold on, is it charcoal or gas?
It's gas.
So you have a bomb in your garage, is what you're telling me.
Basically, yes. Actually, now that you mention it, I should probably check that propane tank.
Yeah, those things don't last forever, man.
Anyway, let's say that the internal temperature of the chicken never got anywhere near 165, as I could tell.
Yeah, I don't like a rare chicken.
So you tell me, but let's say other parties were insistent that the chicken was done.
So, okay, I'll eat a medium rare or even a rare pork chop if it's a nice thick one. Something that's not seen.
Oh, wait, pork chop?
Oh,
I thought you were going to say steak.
No, I'm telling you, a 135 pork chop, delish.
Big fan of trichinosis around here, huh?
Do you know how many cases of trichinosis there have been that have been attributed to pork in the last 100 years?
No.
None.
Really?
All the trichinosis comes from game meat and wild boar. So commercially raised pork, there's no trichinosis. It's not an issue.
Interesting.
So you've been overcooking your pork for a disease that hasn't existed in 100 years.
Yikes. Okay. Well.
Anyway, but like a medium rare brine pork chop with 135 pork chop is delish. Medium rare chicken, that's going to be a no for me, dog.
Yeah, no. There is one meat that you do not mess about with, and it is chicken.
I will eat the chicken. Like I might not get it all the way to 165, but like while it's on the fire, because it'll go up a few degrees, maybe not kebabs, but like a chicken breast will go up from 160 to 165 when you take it off the grill while it's resting.
Yeah, as it rests. Right.
Yeah. But like a kebab, I mean, there's nothing to it. Just put a little heat on that thing, man.
A little heat is what it got, I guess I can say.
Well, so the big takeaway from me from the jockeying over protein space on the protein grills was that grill drama is real drama.
That's for sure.
And that I need less drama in my life. I get enough from being extremely online, it turns out.
That's fair. What is it about the grill that brings out the chest beating machismo? Well, why do I even have to ask that question? It's literally like fire and raw meat.
Yeah, you're cooking meat on a stick over fire. What do you expect? Like,
how much more primal can you get?
Look, I'm going to tell you, if you want to be the campsite hero, what you do is you teach the kids how to do a good, perfect, like you look for the kid that has a little torch that turns their marshmallows on a stick into a torch. And you're like, look, let me explain how this works. You get these down by the coals and the fire is bad. You got to get in there by the coals and then turn it and pull it in and out so that, it doesn't fall off the stick or doesn't turn into a giant goo pile.
Yes. A wise man did once say, fire bad.
Brad, what were your summer breaks like when you were a kid?
Gosh, I mean, what era are we talking? Grade school, up into high school?
Let's say post NES, pre SNES.
Oh gosh. Well, that would have been middle. So I was still not quite old enough to have jobs at that point. That was like 12, 13 for me.
I had chores, but nothing that paid.
I did a fair amount of neighborhood work. I did.
Oh, really?
I mowed yards. I did odd stuff like I bought my Nintendo 64 by helping my neighbor blacktop his driveway for 3 days.
Wow.
But I ruined a decent pair of shoes in the process, so I'm not sure I came out ahead.
Well, did you have to replace the shoes or was that a parent cost?
Now that you mentioned it, considering that my dad groused about that exact event like 3 months ago, I'm going to guess that they replaced them.
I mean, see, that to me seems like a valid use of resources and we all learned an important lesson there.
Yeah, this is like the most grumpy old dad thing ever, to remember the time that I ruined a pair of shoes 30 some years ago.
My father has called out the pair of shoes I ruined by falling off of the sheet metal roof that we were putting on his boathouse when it started, like, the aluminum roof or tin roof. I can't remember what it was. Steel roof, probably. coated with a little bit of oil, so the pieces don't rust together while they're on the shelves. And it started just like the barest drizzle. And the guy who was there with me was like, "You got to get off the roof right now." It's like, "Well, you put this last bolt in," because I was like bent over and ready to go. And next thing I knew, I was in the lake, and Dad still yells at me about those shoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I kept the drill out of the water though. So
priorities.
I mean, look, I knew if I had messed up the drill, I'd be in big trouble. And the shoes I didn't even consider.
Your body expendable, but the drill.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't a good day. But yeah, so okay, so you did like, you would have done like a little bit of summer work. Did you have unlimited video game playtime, or were you just like you had to do other stuff too? Did you like swim lessons or camp or anything like that?
Yeah, when I was younger, yes, it was very much like, all right, you're going to the public pool today.
Okay,
go outside for a while.
Yeah,
yes.
Have one of those chalky lollipops and play some Frogger.
Yes. Joke's on them though. I just sat there and played the Star Wars arcade game.
Oh man,
Vector one at the public pool and got shocked a bunch.
Yeah, you always got shocked at the public pool arcade machines.
Yes.
We lived out in the country, so like we didn't like it was unusual that I got to see other children that weren't my sister when I was a kid.
Wow, I didn't know you guys were that remote.
Well, we weren't that remote, but they weren't like neighborhood kids.
Right. It's like it's effort to find other human beings.
Yeah,
right?
like we had to it was a car ride. And like Dad worked and Mom worked 3 days a week, and the other 2 days were like maintaining the place because it was pretty big. It was a lot of mowing and stuff in the summertime. So like when we would do sleepovers like every few weeks, probably, like somebody would come over on Saturday night and we'd play like laser tag in the field or go get in trouble by the river or something like that. But there weren't a lot of video games. Like it was unusual to play video games when I was like 12.
Wow.
Like something like. We would do stuff outside during the day, and then at night we would stay up super late playing whatever video game we had.
So they were in the house. You just couldn't touch them.
Well, it wasn't that we couldn't. It was that, I mean, it kind of was that we couldn't, but also we didn't have air conditioning. So you didn't want to be inside if it was hot out.
Wait, you lived in Tennessee?
Well, in the mountains.
With no air conditioning?
It wasn't that bad most of the time.
None?
Well, okay, so we had air conditioning, and then lightning hit the house in like 1983 and blew up the air conditioner. And it was a difficult time for the family business, so it wasn't replaced. And it turns out probably fine. It's like living in the Bay Area with no air, because like it's high, 1,500 feet, and we lived right next to the river. So the river's cold. The water in the river is always like 49 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's cold, and like you get fog in the morning, and it's pretty good. It's just like 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock was always pretty warm.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
The last summer that I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, before I moved to California, I was also living in my first apartment at the time. My roommate, long story short, the nature of his job, he was working in other states a lot, going to other offices and stuff. So I was there by myself a lot. The air conditioning went out in the middle of the summer in Raleigh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's bad.
It was like, I believe it was when I was doing a game guide for Warcraft 3. Oh. It was a little 2-story. It was like a little 2-story, and my bedroom was up on. I literally had to move the computer down onto the side of the first floor because it was so hot upstairs. Like the thermostat went up to 95 in there, and the needle just sat on 95 all the time.
Well, okay, so
I go ahead.
No.
I don't have a good reason for this other than I let that go for like 2 weeks without doing anything about it.
Did you just not know that you could call them and complain and they had to come fix it?
I don't know. I think I was busy with the game guide and just wasn't really. I took like 5 cold showers a day.
Oh my God, that sounds like hell.
I called them. I was like, you know what? I should probably do something about this. I finally called the front office of the apartment complex at like noon on a Friday.
Oh, wow.
Like
what a
they
jerk.
had somebody over there to fix it and had it done and working again before the end of the day that same Friday.
Brad.
Like I have to assume like that was definitely a liability thing, right?
Yeah, you could have died. And also, like, there's probably, well, I mean, North Carolina, I don't know if they have renter protections because it seems like not the kind of thing that would be very North Carolina-y, but like in California, something like that goes out, they have to start giving you money back if they don't fix it in a certain period of time. So when I was at Maximum PC, every year when summer started in North America, we would start getting hey, my computer is spontaneously rebooting emails. Like it was like clockwork. Like the August issue of the magazine always had, and eventually we would just pull old emails or make up one so that we could put it in the issue that would be hitting at the start of summer.
Just as a public service announcement.
Yeah, because what happens is if your power supply is saggy or is like when your power supply starts to go, it'll run fine. The efficiency of the power supply goes down the higher the temperature gets, the ambient temperature gets, then the hotter the stuff inside it gets. So like it might provide more than enough power in December when it's cold out, but when it's 85 degrees in your computer room, then it's not able to cool enough, and the amount of power goes out sags, so that when your CPU usage or GPU usage spikes, it just bottoms out the whole thing, and you get a black screen, and it just reboots spontaneously. And we would get dozens of those every year. So I like, hey, props to whoever built your computer, because nice job, it held up in the 95-degree room.
Well, hey, that was me. So way to go, me.
Heck of a job, Brad.
How often do you clean your earbuds?
Anytime there's something gross on them.
Wait, you're actually paying enough attention to know when there's something gross?
I bought those AirPod Pros earlier this year, and they're white, so stuff shows up. Okay.
Well, also, yeah, those are luxury. That's a luxury product also. So maybe you actually care.
I mean, I just don't want to see look. I set up a Raspberry Pi with Pi-hole on it because I didn't want to see earwax ads on the internet anymore. I don't want to see earwax. That's fair. Gross.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on a succession of $35 like no name Bluetooth buds.
Just sending them into the landfill over and over again.
I've never thrown any out yet. I've got a couple.
Oh, so you're hoarding them then?
I also haven't really paid a lot of attention to them over time.
Yeah, I bet they're really gross, huh?
What if I just didn't look? What is the worst that would happen if I just never looked?
You'd never want to put them in your body again. Then you get another pair of $30 earbuds and throw those in the landfill.
Think anybody's ever gotten an ear infection from bad earbuds?
Oh, almost certainly.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I've had ear swelling not from gross stuff on the earbuds, but just from irritation from the earbuds.
Yeah. Do you actually trust in-ear headphones? Like I
exclusively do in-ear headphones.
I use them out of necessity, but I always kind of worry that maybe that's a little too close to the machinery in there, and it's probably not good for your hearing.
I mean, so one of the things I like about the AirPods is that they actually tell you if you're listening to them too loud.
Oh.
Like they're like, hey, you've been over 70 decibels for too long. You shouldn't do this. It's going to hurt your hearing. So like, I don't know. I worry more, like the thing that worries me more is that the skin inside your ear canal is the thinnest skin on your body, basically. Mm-hmm. So if that gets inflamed and infected, and you can have real problems as a result. So like if my ears, occasionally I get a little swollen in the ear holes. Yeah. And then I just don't wear AirPods for a couple of days until the swelling goes down.
Do you have a cleaning protocol
for the ears or the AirPods?
for the buds.
I just kind of wipe off the stuff on the outside. The people always used to say you should just suck the ends when they get wax in them. Which sounds horrifying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't do that. Okay. I have dental picks that I use to clean like small electronic stuff. Okay. So if there's like a piece of wax stuck in the sound end, I'll use it to kind of gently poke it out. But like use a toothpick or something too, if that's what you have.
Sure. My go-to, as stated earlier in this episode, 70% isopropyl. Is there anything that you would not use alcohol to clean?
Anything that has, there's certain kinds of plastic that if you put isopropyl on, it'll do bad things. Like acrylics, it can make the surface cloudy.
Oh,
70% is probably fine, but anything above that you can cause problems. 60% is probably better for cleaning than 70%, because you want the alcohol to linger a little bit.
Yes, I've actually read that 90. What is it? Is it 90 or 95%? That's common. I forget, but that's actually counterproductive in some cases because it evaporates so fast it doesn't actually do the thing it's there to do.
So like 90%, 95% are good for getting water. Like if you for example, if you spill something in your keyboard, they're good for getting the water up. Or at least I've used them for getting the water up, and with good success at that. The 95, 99 you use for cleaning electronics, usually like getting flux off and stuff like that. You shouldn't use those on your body. It's bad for you.
Interesting.
Okay. Or for like, I wouldn't use those on plastic. Honestly.
Sorry. I maybe I didn't specify in the original question. I was mainly talking like electronics.
Yeah. I wouldn't use I wear gloves when I handle 95 and 99%, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yikes. Huh.
Yeah. But I don't put that on, I only do 60 and 70 on electronics when I'm cleaning stuff that's not like a circuit board or something.
That's fair.
Yeah. I I don't know. I use the duster. I use the canned air and the duster for a lot of stuff, not for AirPods or earbuds.
Oh, but when are we just going to get home UV lights so we can just zap everything?
You can buy those. Look, man, you're blocking too many ads. If you open up Instagram, you'll see like a UV phone sanitizer. You'll see 5 of those an hour. Yeah.
Really? Oh man, I've been missing out.
I like to think Saturday morning breakfast is like Super Bowl for dads.
I don't know. Having to compete in the Super Bowl every week might be a little much.
Okay. I don't mean to assign gender roles to like basic stuff like cooking food but Saturday morning I make breakfast usually, and I've started doing this waffle recipe lately. There's a Serious Eats, like it's I think Kenji called it the overnight hungover waffles or something, with the idea that you can whip them up when you come home slightly drunk and have some dope waffles for brunch the next day.
I would not normally think about waffles being hangover food. I'm curious.
Well, like waffle, and then you waffle make a fried egg with it or something like that.
That's the thing. The stuff that goes with the waffles, like the bacon and eggs, that's the hangover food.
Yeah, but you have kids. You gotta waffles and pancakes, biscuits and gravy. Those are our breakfast staples over here. These are yeast risen, which is why you have to do them the night before.
Oh, wow.
And they end up with like this really great crunchy exterior, but really soft, tender insides.
Oh, man.
And I finally, I think today I've been making them for about a year, and it's like they get a little bit better each time. But this time I tried not oiling the waffle iron, because we have a nonstick waffle iron. It's fabulous. Crunchy on the outside, like a lovely golden brown. And like, it's nice. It's nice because it's one of the only places that when I cook, or when any of us cook really, that we do the same things week after week. So like you don't get a lot of time to iterate on like dinner recipes, because you do like maybe one a month of that. But this I can do waffles 3 weeks in a row. Nobody's going to complain.
No.
And like it gives you the time to iterate and learn and get better at making the thing that's like there's a surprising amount of technique to. And I like that. It makes me feel happy.
Yeah, for sure. We may have covered this before. I have nothing against a pancake.
I will
take a waffle any day, though.
Well, I mean, look, to me, they're like, people want to argue about pies and cakes and waffles and pancakes and all that. They're all good.
Sure.
If you don't like pancakes, I'm going to tell you probably never had a good pancake.
No. I mean, look, again, I have nothing against a pancake. I'm just saying, if it came down to it, if you were to ask me, pancake or waffle.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the waffle generally is basically the exact same batter, right?
No, just wildly different. No? If you're making the same, really? Okay. If you're going to get in the Bisquick and add in some milk and oil to it, then yes, it's the same batter.
Okay, so you get a good sense of how fancy our pancake and waffle is.
Whenever somebody says nothing against something, that absolutely means that they have something against that. Universally.
Actually, the only thing I really have against pancakes is how few of them I can eat.
Well,
like a short stack or whatever, like 3 pancakes and I'm done, man. You're like the densest food on the planet.
Okay, when you're back, you've got to come over on a Sunday morning for a pancake feast, because I will make some pancakes. We can eat them in the backyard. And
sold. Yeah.
Like good pancakes are a pancake should not be heavy.
Okay.
A pancake should be fluffy and light, and it should bring joy to your heart. It should absorb a little bit of butter, a little bit of maple syrup, or alternately, if you want to put some whipped cream, some fruit on it, that should be a viable alternative. It's a conveyance. It's a way to bring love into your body in food form.
All right, I've been in this house for a few weeks now, and I have come to a realization.
Okay.
Honestly, I knew this in my heart of hearts already, but to have it presented in such a way is laundry on premises is the true American dream.
Like in the house?
Yes, like right there in the domicile. Don't have to go anywhere. Don't have to drop any coins in. Don't have to wait your turn. Well, it depends on how many people are in the house, but
wait. Do you not have laundry in your apartment in San Francisco?
In the unit?
Yeah.
Does anybody?
Yeah, we always did. I didn't look at any apartments that didn't have laundry in them from 2001 on.
I didn't know they even made that. I've never lived in an apartment in that city that had washing machine.
I mean, maybe this is why our
What?
apartments are always so goddamn expensive.
Possibly. The freedom, that is true liberty. Just being able to foul up your clothes whenever you feel like it, knowing that you can go clean them immediately with a minimum fuss. That's all I want in the world.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't think I would know how to live without, like, I don't know how you have a kid without being able to wash clothes at any given moment, because they're just constantly clothes being dirtied. It's nonstop.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, obviously, quite have that level of challenge to deal with, but still.
Wow. I can't even imagine. How do you,
man.
like, how many clothes do you have? Like, how often do you do laundry? Like once a week?
Pretty strategically. No, I mean, I've got enough clothes to last longer than that, but. Okay. Do we need to establish the hierarchy of laundry needs here?
I assume underpants is at the top of the list.
Yes, absolutely. Underwear and socks are the cannot wear them again. You're making a face.
Yeah, no, that's
do you have? Is there something about your sock wearing habits I need to know?
Like, I have a couple pairs of wool socks that I wear because my feet get cold, but I wear them. They're almost like slippers. So like,
yeah,
they're like, I often wear them with another sock underneath, like a cotton sock underneath, and I'll wear the thick wool sock on top.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Also, I mean, like, if I put on a pair of socks for like half an hour to go somewhere and then come right back, I might put them back on later.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But underwear is a one day. Well,
absolutely. Yes.
I mean, let's be real.
Non-negotiable.
In the 2020, in the post-COVID landscape, underwear is a shower to shower wear for me, not a necessarily one day. Sometimes that's like a day and a half.
Hey man, what you do in the privacy of your own home, nobody's going to judge you.
I feel like you're judging me, but that's okay. Okay, so, but okay, so you have enough underwear. What else? Like, how many? Do you have like 2 weeks worth of shorts?
Oh yeah, totally.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I'm not discarding a pair of shorts after one day necessarily.
I mean, yeah, it's not like we're doing hard physical labor over here in the podcast minds. We're sitting at a desk, maybe getting lightly damp on the worst day.
If all I'm doing is working at home at a desk and not going anywhere, like gym shorts 2-3 days, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I have a pair of jeans I probably haven't washed in a year at this point.
Woo.
But I mean, I don't wear them very much.
Okay.
It's like every once in a while, and then if living in the fog belt down here, you got to watch out for the mustiness is the real enemy, because stuff gets a little damp and then it starts smelling like wet house. You don't want that.
Well, just throw them in the freezer for a few hours. Everything will be
hang them up in the sun is good. Yeah, there's options. I had to have an intervention with my daughter about the Robux.
Okay. It's like buying too many under your nose. Like, what are we?
No, she doesn't. God, no, of course we don't give her access. If I gave her access to buy Robux without supervision, I'd have had to sell the house by now. So two things happened. One is that it became clear that she was building Smurf accounts and doing the old WoW thing where she would sit and be like, hey, I'm new to the game. Does anybody have any free stuff that you can give me? And I was like, okay, that's not okay. And we had to explain why that wasn't okay. And I was just, this makes me feel bad that we're having to have this conversation. I feel like I've failed as a parent.
Where do you think she learned this behavior?
She learned it from fucking YouTube, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The funnier one though is she didn't want to use, they have a lot of games that are like, hey, it's like Pokemon Go where you get a thing and then you have to do some work to level up the thing, but the work is time consuming and takes a while and it kind of sucks. But of course you can pay some Robux and bypass the grindy bits if you so desire. But she realized that she could pay one of her friends to level up the characters with Robux cheaper than she could pay the game to level them up, because her friends like to play the gamey part. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of impressed that you're but also I'm not okay with you using the money that I give you to pay your friends to play a game for you.
That's our money, right?
That feels real weird. We're 2 steps away from the WoW gold auctions of 2005 here.
Fair.
I got to figure out how to get her to channel this energy, this scheming energy into some actual profit center stuff and not just low key Robux scams, though, is I think where we're at.
Seriously, it seems like you got a future little business leader on your hands.
Oh man, that's the worst thing anybody's ever said to me. Brad, do you ever get update dread?
These days, yes. The more open source, the more Linux, the more, of that stuff I get into, the more that, yes, running an updates feels like maybe walking a tightrope.
I feel like you probably are a little more fastidious with your updating of, say, TrueNAS jails and like little VMs that are running all over the place than maybe I am.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be judicious about it. Like, you're definitely weighing, do I really need to run this update or not, against like what the actual benefits are and the risk of maybe the whole thing just falling apart.
Yeah, so I found a VM, or jail rather, that I hadn't updated since 2020.
Huh. Okay.
It doesn't face the real internet. It's like locked behind the router. And I looked at it and I was like, if this breaks, it's going to take me the better part of a day to figure out how to unbreak it, probably. And the downside of me not updating it is very, very low, I think. Like there's it's not getting hit by outside IPs or anything like that. Like it's behind the firewall. It's probably fine.
I feel like you've just rattled off almost every variable in this equation with one exception, which is how critical to like domestic harmony is the service that it's running.
It's the one that runs Plex.
Okay, I'm guessing that one's pretty crucial.
I feel like multiple people inside and out. Well, okay, so Plex has been updated, just to be clear. It's the underlying OS that has not been updated.
Oh, you're fine. Oh, you're super fine.
Okay. Because Plex does, I guess, talk to the outside world in a limited way.
Kind of, yeah.
But
what is driving this, though? Like you see a number that could be bigger? Is that it?
I mean, look, it's a BSD machine that hasn't been updated. Like the VM is probably 2 versions of TrueNAS back, which means it's not getting security updates anymore. Or the jail. But I also, I understand how that stuff works well enough to be dangerous. Like I don't understand if there's actually a threat there because it's running on top of the existing version of BSD, like the current version of BSD, which is up to date. So like, right. I don't know what the threat is, but I'm afraid to update it. And if I lose all the data in the Plex library at this point, I'll be pretty like I have backups of that. So it's not the end of the world, but also I'd rather not lose all the data in the Plex library at this point or have to figure out how to restore that because it's a pain.
You know what they say about it being broke.
Don't fix it.
If it ain't.
And thus we reach the end of another fabulous cold open episode of Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod.
Freezing in here.
It's like 85 degrees in here right now. I got to turn the air conditioner back on.
Yes, I'm a bad actor.
As always, thank you so much to all of our patrons. Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod is a 100% listener supported show, which means that without you, the generous listener, this show would not exist. You can find out how to support the show by going to patreon.com/techpod. That's patreon.com/techpod. And for as little as $2 a month, you can get in and like show your support for the show. Join the TechPod community over in the Discord. You can look. I had to reset the clock in the Discord the other day because they talk about things in the general channel that sometimes I'm oh man, if new people come in here and see what we're talking about right now, they're just going to do the Grandpa Simpson Bordello thing and just walk right back out.
It has been 0 days since an unpalatable subject was discussed.
Literally unpalatable. But this is also the part of the show where we thank our patrons, including our executive producer tier patrons, such as Paddle Creek Games, makers of Fractured Veil, Andrew Slosky, Octothorpe Bunny Crimes, Just Wedge, Jacob Chappell, Joel Krauska, The Twinkie Struggle, David Allen, and James Kamek. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, patrons.
And I think that's going to do it for us this week.
New FossPod.
It's out now.
New FossPod. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to Paulus Choutson, who is the maintainer of Home Assistant, and is a very knowledgeable, affable gentleman. And we had a lovely conversation with him about the open sources and like what it's like to maintain. I think one of the more sprawling open source projects that I've ever seen, if not the most sprawling.
There was a lot of interesting stuff in that conversation. I loved hearing him talk about, like, they run Nabu Casa, which allows you to pay $5 a month to kind of handle some of the remote administration parts of Home Assistant for you.
I'm a happy customer of Nabu Casa.
Yeah. So something I had kind of intuitively understood from our Discord, but it was interesting to hear him say it out loud, was that like the more likely you are to know how to do all that stuff, the more likely you also are to just want to pay somebody else to do it for you.
Well, we didn't talk about it in the show because I didn't really think about it until we were editing, but like there's a ramp for me where I want to know how to do it. And then once I know how to do it and I realize what an incredible pain in the ass it is in the long term, I'm happy to offload that to somebody else for $5 a month.
Yes, exactly. It was also great hearing from the source, somebody who's like right in the middle of it, about the new Matter standard that's going to supposedly allow like everybody's smart devices to talk to everybody else's, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that was the most interesting for me part of the episode, I think, in terms of like future looking technology and what he's excited about and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, his company, he is a contributor,
they're a member of the coalition, I think, is yeah.
Wait. Does that mean that we've finally spoken to a member of a consortium?
Oh, we've talked to a lot of consortium members. We just didn't realize it. They're everywhere.
They're lurking among us.
Yeah, so that's on fosspod.content.town. You should all listen to it. If you don't already subscribe to the podcast, you should check it out. And we referred back to the Home Assistant episode that we did a couple years ago. I think it might be time for us to revisit Home Assistant for the Tech Pod at some point.
Yeah, maybe so.
It's been a minute and a lot of stuff has changed. So, yeah. But that'll do it for us this week. Thanks everybody for listening. Again, you can find us at TechPod. You can find us at patreon.com/TechPod. I'll get it eventually. If you have emails, we're coming up on an email episode in a few more weeks. So send your emails to techpod@content.town or post them in the Q's Seeking A's channel. And we will see you all next week.